This is one of the fastest things and clearest things a guy can do to aggressively elevate his life, to quickly change how he's living. Because when it comes to looking inwards, it's really fucking hard. Self awareness is not something that comes naturally. It's why it's so hunted for. It's why great philosophers, any great men for thousands of years, have put it down as a life skill, as the secret to real fulfillment, because it's hard to do. But we can look to others easily. If I said to you, identify your biggest strengths or your biggest flaws, you'd struggle so fucking much. You'd be like, okay, well, this actually no, because sometimes I do this. Maybe this actually, I don't know, because I do this sometimes. However, if I said, look to your partner or look to your friend, anyone that you know, anyone that you've met for like a day, you'd be able to highlight their biggest strengths or their biggest weaknesses, what they're good at. They could tell you their problems, even if you don't know them. If you've just met someone, they could say, I'm having this problem, what should I do? And you just know. People know how to fix things. Some stuff's just fucking obvious, especially when you're locked in, when you're living in real alignment, when you're eating good, you're training hard, you love your wife, you work hard, you're clear on your career, your business. You think very, very clearly. But when it comes to ourselves, we have so many limited beliefs. We have so much lack of faith in ourselves that it's sometimes hard to pull the trigger. So if you're stuck right now, and I had this conversation with a client, with a guy on the phone, very specifically because he has a bad shoulder, so he's struggling with training. He just had a fucking massive invoice get chinned off. And this is big with tradesmen, right? This guy's a carpenter, fitting a massive, very expensive kitchen and then ghosting when it comes to actually pay the invoice, which is crazy. He's got materials to pay, etc. And it's just knocked him a little bit. Like it just mentally doesn't feel good, right? So he's having these struggles, right? And we spoke in great depth about exactly what he needs to do, etc. It was an amazing call. But I gave him one piece of advice when any sort of adversity hits, right? And I use this myself for specific areas, but you can use it in life as a whole. All you need to do is pick someone that you admire, someone that you just think that guy gets shit done. That guy has all the strengths and characteristics that I deeply admire, right? He gets given your life. He just, it's a game. He gets given exactly what you've got now. Doesn't matter if you've been stuck trying to break through the next level in business for fucking ages, your wife and you just aren't connected, your kid doesn't respect you because you feel guilty about how you show up at home, you got an injury or you're out of shape and you don't love what you see in the mirror. Someone you deeply admire gets given that. They say, hey, let's call this guy that you deeply admire. It can be a celebrity, can be someone you see on social media, can be someone that you read about in books, a podcast you listen to. It doesn't matter. Just someone that you see as a man that just does the right thing. You admire how he moves, right? He gets given that, your life. Think about him receiving that. What does he do? How does he move with that? You'll immediately start putting the pieces together. Straight away, if you really admire this guy, you'll straight away just think, they just do this, they do this. Would they whinge and moan about it? No, they don't do that. Would they do this? No, they think that was too fucking timid. They go hard, they do this, they do this. You have like a daily structure in your head already. You'd be like, I know what they do. You pick someone you admire and you place them in your position and you watch how they handle it, right? Visualization of how people move, how people do things is powerful. Kobe Bryant talked about Goat Mountain. Every great entrepreneur, like was it Napoleon Hill? I think he spoke about the mastermind in his head when he had these business people sat around a table. People have spoken about this stuff a ton, right? Kobe's Goat Mountain was like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, all these amazing players. Larry Bird, they were on this mountain. He'd walk up the mountain, he'd sit down, and he'd talk to him, and they solved all of his problems for him. He'd just sit there and he'd imagine him walk up the mountain, meeting these basketball greats, and he'd talk to them, he'd ask them questions, they'd respond. Rather than just him asking himself these questions, which always puts a block in guys' brains, went up Goat Mountain. This is what you're doing. You can do it with any situation. If you're out of shape and you fucking hate your physique, most guys, I'll tell you what most guys do, I'll tell you what the greats would do, right? Because you know most guys, they'd say, okay, I need to get my shit together. First of all, I'm gonna train at home, do body weight for like a few weeks and just get used to it, right? Just get used to it. I'm gonna go to the gym and just not push myself too much. With diet, I'm gonna try and make better decisions. I'm gonna try and just cut out, I don't know, one thing, but I'm just trying like not have that chocolate bar I have on the way home. Now think deeply. Like my favorite bodybuilder, right, Chris Bumstead, my favorite bodybuilder. I'd be like, okay, so if I'm out of shape, if I looked in the mirror and just had big gut, noodle arms, like hated my physique. Chris Bumstead wakes up tomorrow morning, he's got that physique. That's how he looks. What would he do? He wouldn't even fucking mope about it. Be like, oh, go. He'd just get to work. He'd be like, I'm going to build something I'm happy with really fucking quickly. He would immediately, like that day, not just in general, what would he do that day? That day, he would hire an amazing coach. He would join a gym that's very close to his house so he knows he's never going to miss. He would have a program. He would be committed to it. He would diet so aggressively on day one. He wouldn't ease into it. If he already had his meal plan for that day, planned the day before, probably like a fucking kebab for lunch, chocolate cake after dinner, all planned out, it's in the fridge ready to go. He wouldn't say, well, that stuff's already in the fridge, so I'm just going to have that, and then tomorrow it's game time. He wouldn't do that. He'd be like, bin that cake. I ain't eating no shit that isn't in my plan because look, like he's got a higher minimum standard and he knows what to do and he's happy to move more aggressively. Same with business, right? You might have a successful business, right? Say you'll turn over 600 grand a year, right? And you feel good, but you've been stuck there for like 3 years. You just can't break through to that next level. You keep trying all these different things, but you get a bit distracted. You have a bit of self doubt, and then you think, okay, Elon gets my business today. That's his test. He gets given my business or anyone. Like I'm a massive fan. I've got all these books here. I'm a massive Sabri Subi fan. I'm a big fan of who else do I like in business? Love Dan Kennedy. Awesome. So Dan Kennedy gets my business today, right? Sabri Subi gets my business today. What do they do with it? Like, what would they do? Like, picture it. They wouldn't say, well, I've actually got a lot on today. If they woke up tomorrow and they had my business, right? They've been stuck at not my business, right? Wherever you are, right? Say our example, he's stuck at 600 grand a year, been there for 3 years. He looks at it, it's messy. There's gaps in the CRM. They're losing leads here, losing money here. He looks at it, he doesn't say, well, hang on, like I've got a lot on, so let me just we'll deal with this. Let's try something new. He'd be like, no, strip this back. Does this make money or keep clients? Get rid of it. Strip it back, strip it back. Let's get clearer on this. Where's the exact direction we're going? We're going to do that today. We're going to move aggressively. Here's how we're going to track. We're going to track this. This is all that matters. No fucking complicated stuff. He would just be like a whirlwind coming in and we very quickly handle it. But if you think of you doing that, you have too many limiting beliefs and these blocks stopping you. So you usually think, someone I deeply admire comes in, they have my position. Now you can do it like I said, you could just pick it with business, or just physique, or just marriage, right? There must be a couple that you just deeply admire. They're so in love and connected. The husband has this magnetism. He's just a masculine leader that makes her feel loved and led effortlessly. How would he move if your marriage isn't where you want it to be? If you don't feel proud of the man that how you show up at home, what would he do? And if it helps, imagine who you want to be. Think of the man that you want to be, this jacked up, in full control of his business, his money, his mood, his mentality, his body, everything is under his control and in order. Picture him right now. Project it ages in the future if it makes it easier to believe. Say like 5 years, there he is. Okay, he's put back in my position now. What does he do? And do that. And not what does he do in general, what does he do today? What does he do this very fucking day? And you just do that. It's all there is to it. Guys overcomplicate everything. They get so fucking consumed with limiting beliefs. All you need to do is move the correct way. And there's reasons you admire the men that you admire. It's because that's who you're supposed to be, your core self, right? Your deep self, the person you're supposed to be, your true potential. He'll give you clues on who you should be based on what you admire in other people, the strengths, the characteristics. So think, who do you admire? What would they do? Move aggressively that way. That's all there is to it.